Well, good morning, everyone. It's been a lovely weekend weather-wise, and so I thought I would wear a summer sort of attire for today's special service for Pentecost. When big events like the one that was to take place in Japan this summer, which had to be cancelled, the Olympics, these events are not just about the spectacle of the occasion, but also about the legacy that they will leave thereafter. There is always the intention that out of the um, preparation, the building, all that goes on to put these events together, that after they're done, there will be some lasting good that will be transferred to the area in which it took place or the country in which it took place. You will have seen if you followed our service today that I did not include as one of the readings the story in Acts chapter 2, where Luke tells us about how the day of Pentecost began. We did mention it right at the very start of the service. But the problem is that if we keep focusing on that particularly unique occasion with the rushing wind and with the tongues of fire and with the speaking in different languages, then we might lose sight of what's more important, namely the legacy of what that event has left behind and has carried on down through the ages. That's why I've chosen today the reading from the Old Testament, from the book of Numbers, where Moses in leadership is finding it difficult, the burdens of looking after the people, presenting them to God, is taking its toll on him. And so God works out a way in which this can be shared. And the way it happens is that 70 are chosen, and then God takes from Moses a portion of the Spirit that's been on him and shares it around the 70 so that they can all have the spiritual gifting for leadership. And when the two that aren't there also start prophesying, start speaking words from God, then Joshua says that they shouldn't be allowed to do that because they weren't part of the 70. And to that Moses replies, oh, that everyone of God's people could be a prophet. Everyone could hear from God and speak and act for God. Now that everyone is something that then gets carried through the Old Testament into the book of Joel, which is part of the reading of Acts chapter 2, where we hear that the promise of the prophet is that a day will come, the last days, when God will pour out his Spirit on everyone, the old and the young, male and the female, will all be included in receiving the Spirit. And so that's what we find at the beginning of the reading from Acts chapter 2. It says that when they were all together in one place, emphasizing all were there together in one place, this is when the Spirit comes and touches everyone that's there. And then when the day of Pentecost concludes with the 3,000 bringing their faith to Christ, the assumption is that everyone, as they were baptized, received the Holy Spirit. This is what Pentecost actually means for us today. It means that everyone in the church, everyone who has believed the good news, who has become a follower of Jesus, who is to be his witness in the world, everyone receives the Holy Spirit. But whilst everyone receives the Holy Spirit, we are also told by Paul how the Spirit manifests in them is not always the same. There are many giftings of the Holy Spirit, and they are distributed as the Spirit decides. Now that's important. Spiritual gifts are not our choosing. We do not say to ourselves, oh, I think I'll be this, or I think I'll do that. This is the work of God's Spirit in us. Everyone receives the Spirit, but the manifestation of that Spirit is different. And so there are those who will exercise more of a leadership role, those who will exercise more of a serving role, those who will exercise great faith, those who will exercise healing, those who can discern that God has really spoken and that not just coming out of somebody's mouth words they want to hear. All of these and other giftings are from the Spirit of God given to everyone. There is no one without a gifting in the church. Everyone has a part and a role to play. Everyone is involved. This is important for us to realize on this particular day of Pentecost, the legacy, because we stand in history now at a moment where, through what's happened with this coronavirus, through the lockdown that is now slowly going to start to ease, there has been a disconnect in the life of the church. We have been moving on a trajectory under a model which was slowly but surely crumbling away. And how to get to a new place wasn't in any way clear. And there was so much baggage being carried that it was difficult to see how anything new could actually take place. But this disconnect, as I've called it, this time of preparation, allows us to examine what we've been and what we should be, what we can become. And for that to happen, the Spirit at work in God's people will be of the essence. Tony Campola tells the story of being one night in a theatre in Broadway. He was watching the old musical, The Man from La Mancha. It's the musical version of Don Quixote. And the big song from it that everybody knows is "To Dream the Impossible Dream." So when the character of Don Quixote is on stage singing this song, which is all about someone being asked to dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to all those words that I'm sure are coming back to you as even they are receding from my memory. But these words, as they were being sung, Tony Campola realised that just along from him, he could hear a grown man sob. And he kind of glanced over, and there was a man in his suit and his tie, middle-aged, a man who'd obviously, it looks like, done well, it seemed, in life, but he's sobbing. And Tony Campola realised he was being deeply affected by these words, to dream the impossible dream. And it struck Tony Campola that this man had lost his dreams. And this song was bringing that right to the very core of his being. That Joel reading that is used by Peter to explain to everyone that gathered on that first day of Pentecost. And they were asking, what does this mean, that all this sound and noise that we're hearing? What does it mean? And Peter says, this is what the prophet Joel says. And what did the prophet Joel said? As well as saying that everyone would receive the Spirit, he said, your young men will dream dreams, your old men will have visions. These were the ways in which the Spirit would operate. Well, that's what we need now. We need everyone who is part of the church and who wants to see the church succeed and play its proper role in our society as it needs to be remade, that we will now seek to be people filled with the Holy Spirit, allowing the Spirit to be active in us all and to recognize the gifting that God has placed in us and to use that gifting to dream the dreams, the impossible dreams that need to be now dreamt so that we can move from this place into a new future. Jesus said that those who believe in him, a wellspring of living water will bubble up within them, and it will be always there, present. This is what the Spirit of God would bring to people. This is what he offered them through the Spirit. May each of us today allow the Spirit to bubble up within us, to give us the visions and the dreams, that we may move forward from this day and begin to work to make the new future realized.